of sabotage. Well, there was nothing I could do about it, and there was nothing he could do immediately about it, but the arrangement was that as far as I was concerned, it was perfectly in order to do it, and when it was done, it could be done, it would be announced as an Irgun operation. Together with the explanation of why it was done. Then nothing happened until the fall, and I got a message from this guy, whose name I don't mention even now. His family still lives in England. That there was a boat coming in or already in port, and would be staying some time, and he and his friend were keeping a watch on it to see how the operation could be carried out. It seemed, in fact, quite a simple operation, just a question of there was a watchman, only one watchman on the ship, and it meant managing to get into at some point in the boat, I don't know where it would be, they would know, while he was on the move around the ship. He's there, they'd get in here, sort of thing. I think it was that simple. And the next thing I knew was that they were now planning for a date for the actual operation, and the only question was what kind of weapon would be used. The idea was not necessarily to sink the boat; it was enough to do it sufficient damage, and our name attached to it to give them the idea that more of this could happen if they weren't taken stock. And so I wrote next. One of our members abroad was a guy named Hecht. You know Roman Hecht? Hecht, during the war, had helped, put it briefly, he had helped American airmen who had landed in Switzerland. They had been in action and they couldn't get beyond Switzerland, and the Swiss had interned them. And Hecht helped the American consul in Zurich, a man named Wood, to carry out plans for their escape from this internment, which I don't think was very severe. In general, he had done that. Now, his friend Wood had been conveyed the information to the American president of the impending invasion of Russia by the Nazis. And so, either by that means or by other means as well, this consul had a direct approach to the president. So I asked Hecht to talk to Wood and to ask Wood to tell the president, ask the president, that the British should stop their actions against the so-called illegal immigrants And if they didn't, the Irgun would act against their ships. Some such, I don't remember the exact wording. We found somewhere among the papers in history. He did that. And reply came after a few days. The British had promised us to Now, well, I can't relate the dates. Apparently this happened later. It couldn't happen later. It happened somewhere around that time, because that was roughly when I was in Europe. And it was shortly after that, in September, and this must have been July or August, I don't remember. But then the actual point is that this was done. I don't know what date it was done. And there was a reply. And just when my friends in London were ready, the British announced that they were giving up the mandate.
Mm-hmm.
So I hastily got in touch with my friend and said, look, we don't want to have any unnecessary problems. If they're giving up the mandate, then we're not going to be fighting them anymore. So the operation was stopped. If they had been ready 2 months earlier, we'd have blown up a ship. And as it was an empty ship, everybody would have been happy. So, now from my point of view, this is a completely, shall I say, unofficial operation. The High Command was never discussed this, but obviously would have blessed it if it had come off.
So when Israel was established, you were what number on the Knesset list?
What's that?
When Israel in 1948, then 49 when you ran for Knesset, what number were you on the list? What number were you on the list?
It was low down. I didn't want to be on the list. I was 12th, I think. No, I pressed Begin and the others. I didn't want to be on the list. I preferred to take charge of the newspaper, establishing or had established already a newspaper called Chirut. I didn't want to be I didn't have any, I had no feeling for being a politician, an active politician, never liked it. No. So,
did you hold any position between 48 and 49? Did you hold any job or position?
Well, there's still some story here, because when we had the whole Altalena story, which I was concerned. The Americans bought a ship at the time. The idea was that they would bring immigrants to help in the fighting, and to bring arms. There wasn't any. We didn't at that time have much in the way of arms, but there was always hope. And it was then that negotiations were started by Ariel, who had been reinstated. I told you that he'd been reinstated because Eri himself and I, and Eri Jabotinsky, who was connected with the American group, all protested against Ariel's being. It really wasn't anybody's business that he lived high. He lived on at his own expense.
Mhm.
The business group who had it in for him, they hinted that he was doing, having a, wonderful time in his life. It's good money, but he could never gave him any money. He had other work. He was working with a woman who had been in the French resistance, Jewish woman named Vida. Because of her work in the resistance, she had influence with the Ministry of the Interior in Paris, and so helped a lot of Jews from the camps to get into France. Right? And Ariel had a part in this. He had candidates for the So when people needed such help, had no money, he got them in free. But when many Jews had money stashed away somewhere and could pay for the services, he took payments from them. And so he lived quite well. He liked living well. He wasted a lot of money, but on himself. But we said that had nothing to do with Irgun. He was a very bright man, knew French, perfect French, and was born a diplomat, and had friends all over the French government. He was responsible individually. I don't think, perhaps he got 2% of help from me, perhaps from Eli, when he wrote a memorandum to the French explaining why they should help the Irgun in Palestine. It can be, the whole Altalena operations can be ascribed to him. And I was practically not more than a spectator as I came through Paris. Now what did I come to Paris for? We're already now in wartime, and I am looking for arms, or for money for arms. This is second half of 1948. Not the first half. When would it be? The first half of 1948. And it was when I came to America as well. Now what happened then was, what happened with me was that apart from being drafted by the Haganah to be on watch in our neighborhood. We lived in Ramat Gan, and they came to me. They came to everybody. You see, so I was stuck in the mud for several nights as a Haganah member, and then the Haganah. You've got to remember all kinds of things here. The Haganah killed an Irgun member in Haifa. I've forgotten his name, but it's all down in my book. I can't remember the circumstances. He made a noise about it. And much about it, but there was also another problem. That was that we were desperate for arms, and we had a manufacturer. What he manufactured, I can't remember, but a man who made a kind of grandfather of Uzi.
Mm-hmm.
A more primitive weapon, but apparently quite useful. I was asked to go to South Africa. The partition decision, recommendation had been taken by the United Nations meantime. November 47. And one of the recommendations, and one of the paragraphs said that the British should open a port on the 1st of February to enable the Jews to bring in men and arms. Now, we had a meeting with the Jewish agency. Begin, Lando and I had a meeting with the Jewish agency on the subject of Tel Aviv was being attacked by snipers from Jaffa. And you couldn't walk up and down Allenby Road. And both the Irgun and the Haganah were taken up positions defending Tel Aviv. And we discussed with the agency the subject of this united defense. Of course, they said that all we should do is join them, and they would handle it. You know, the Smochalai, as we called them, the Smochalainicks. But we didn't agree. At that night, there was an agreement for joint defense, geographical allotting the areas to one or the other. And but they were collecting money all over the world for their own, but we had resources limited. Our American friends were practically useless. By this time, the whole glamour of the Bergson Group had already been dissipated. And in any case, they hadn't sent us money before.
Right, they weren't sending it.
And so I was asked to go to South Africa and subsequently to Europe and America to get money. But at this meeting with the Jewish agency, we said to them, don't expect the British to keep to the recommendation of the order of the United Nations about the 1st of February. They are not going to open a port. They are our enemies. And the agency representatives, I remember particularly the late Chaim Shapiro, said, no nonsense, they're obviously going to open it after all. It's written down in the partition agreement. We said, no, don't think of it. They will not do it. Well, they didn't, of course. But later on, everybody forgot that. I went off to South Africa in order to raise money. What was the story in South Africa? The agency story in South Africa was that there's cooperation between the Irgun and Haganah, and that we are getting money from them, we are getting arms from them, or money for arms. I had trouble with the revisionist party in South Africa on this subject, because they were part of the Jewish agency. They were inside the Zionist organization. And so I promised the Johannesburg chief rabbi was a member of the revisionist party. Louis Rabinovich. He could come back to Israel with me and come to a meeting. You'll see what money we were getting. Which subsequently happened, and this question was settled. Meantime, I did raise some money in South Africa. We had a group of people who were working for the Irgun permanently, always, and they kept on. They continued to raise further money. But as I said, we got more money from South Africa than we had from America at the time. came back from South Africa. I don't know how long I managed to stay here when I was asked to go to America. And this time it was a serious matter. We had discussed the question of seeing that the Arabs had not accepted the partition agreement. We said that the Jews were free, the Jews who had accepted the partition agreement were free to go beyond the partition lines and take the whole of the country if they could. Unfortunately, the Ben Gurion didn't agree. But we decided that if we could raise money enough, arms enough, we would do it ourselves. It was roughly on those terms that we went into Jaffa. You know that when we went into Jaffa and suffered losses the first days, we were laughed at, mocked at by the agency press.
Right.
And so Begin and I think Lander was in it, decided on took a very serious decision. I was to go to America, talk to Abba Hillel Silver, to ask him for money. Abba Hillel Silver was now the chairman of the Zionist Emergency Committee, which was in fact running the Zionist organization at the time, and had the funds of the Zionist organization in their hands. Ask him to give the Irgun $500,000 so that we could buy enough arms, and we were sure that the rest of the country, there was a good chance of simply taking the rest of the country. Now, at the time, same time, there had been a running quarrel between the Bergson Group and the Zionists. And in this quarrel, we were not all together on the side of the Bergson Group because of their ideological leap to this Jew and Hebrew business. That the Zionists should now be Hebrews, and the Jews, the rest of us, would be Jews in the diaspora. Something that took hold, of course, with some people like Ben Hecht. It solved their problem for them. They gave assistance to the Irgun, but they remained good American Jews. But the Zionists could certainly not accept that, and nor did we. Begin was furious with the Bergson Group because of that. Now, I was to before I went to see Abba Hillel, I was to approach the Bergson Group. Matter of fact, Bergson was not in America at the time. My talks were with Merlin. Do you remember Merlin?
I never met. I only spoke to him once on the phone. I never met him.
We didn't expect $500,000 from them, but at any rate we expected them to help us get money. We possibly for $500,000. They said they had no money, which wasn't true actually, because they had some money. It was in Europe, not very much. I think it was $50,000, which I took away from them and doubled them later on. Yes, I'll tell you. So I got hold of Abba Hillel Silver. He was not so easy to get hold of because he was in 3 different places. He was in New York as a Zionist, and he was in Cleveland as a rabbi, and he was in Washington doing politics, also as a Zionist, of course. Finally, I got him. I tried to get him on the phone. I didn't have a number for him in Washington. But I was put through to a man named Da Silva, who was the Portuguese ambassador. Who told me that, when I discovered that he wasn't, he said, if you want any help, I'll give it to you. Yeah. Now, I put the case to Silver, and he said it's a wonderful idea. But as far as money is concerned, I can't help. I said, why not? He said, because I won't be able to get a majority. I said that this is so important. You've got to push it through if you think it's right. He said, well, I won't, and I'd have to resign. So I said to him in these words, so what? I said, isn't the matter important enough? However, nothing came of that. He thought it was wonderful. And that's why, it was because of that kind of attitude on Silver's part. He was a great man, I think. He could have been a great man. He was a wonderful speaker and had all the right ideas from our point of view. But he didn't want to come here. He could have been a prime minister here. He was certainly a higher caliber than all the others many of the others who went into politics here. However, he didn't help, and Bergson Group didn't help, but some money came, $100,000 I think it was, came from South America. We had a man working in South America on it. What's happened in America, I don't think anything else happened in America.
So your attempts to raise money for the Altalena didn't...
What's that?
Your attempts to raise money for the Altalena weren't...
Well,
your efforts were not the efforts
this money from South America, and there was money in some money in Europe, and there were arms. Irma Halperin, I don't know if you remember the name. Irma Halperin, and there was also Joel from Himifkada, who worked in Europe, came to Europe, and Livni. They raised arms, and we got a lot of arms, I don't know how much, from members of French resistance.
But you specifically, personally, weren't involved in that?
No, I didn't raise any money. What I later raised in South Africa, and I ensured that the money that was raised in South America should reach us. Subsequently, I took away the money from the Bergson Group.
How did you get it out of their hands?
How did I get it out of their hands? Their money was in the hands of, the signatories to their account were 2 out of 3. And as far as I remember, and we, the Irgun, had two two of the people who were signatories. Neither Cook nor Merlin were signatories to the account. There was a girl named Shoshana, what's her name again now? A different name. She got married subsequently. The secretary of their office in New York, in Paris rather, was one of our girls, Shoshana. She was secretary to the account, and Stavsky. Stavsky was the man who ran the boat. Right. We became the Altalena. We bought potatoes here, whatever, between North Africa and Paris. Doing business, sort of thing. And I'm not sure. Bacon's brother-in-law, Emmanuel Halperin's father, Bacon's brother-in-law, I'm not sure whether he had a signature or not, but then I asked him, I got the signatures of Shoshana and Stavsky, and I got Halperin to travel to Switzerland, take out the money from the bank. Together with he traveled with a man named Shmuel Katz. I think I mentioned to you. Yeah. Shmuel Katz from Poland,
right.
Who was in Paris at the time, who survived the Holocaust, and they went together and took out the money. Subsequently, I don't know who it was, whether it was Ben Eliezer or who, accused me of having stolen the money because there was a man who was named Katz, you see. It was very simple. All you needed was a criminal brain. When I went back to Israel, I came back just after the Altalena, while the Altalena was still smoking. I travelled with my wife, who had been on a mission for the Irgun in Scandinavia, and a woman named, what is her name? She's still around. One of our people who had gone on the Altalena, but had got us to take his wife with us on the plane coming back to Israel, and she was with a baby, 1 or 2 years old. So we stuffed the $50,000 in the child's clothes, I don't know what it was, and smuggled the money into Israel, because by that time the state had been established. You couldn't just bring in $50,000 and not declare it. The agency would have taken it without hesitation. So this poor infant also became a criminal almost the day after his birth. Well, what else do we know about that period?
Well, listen, I've really got to get from you a list, just a list. Just tell me different jobs that you held. No stories, just a list. I'll come back to stories some other time. But just a list. What, 49 you were in the Knesset?
Well, just add them up as they go along.
Okay.
You see, I had what you want to call the fixed job inside the Kedah of public relations, propaganda, call it what you will. But then I had a freewheeling job, whatever I do. When I was in Europe for the Congress, I dealt with the Congress. I was in Italy. I gave advice on how to avoid the police. That was all I could do, and I couldn't succeed in the end. When I was in England, in a sense, that was perhaps the most important part of it, that I was able to sort of pinpoint specifics of British policy towards us, British reactions, British probable reactions. Public opinion. I learned a good deal about public opinion when I went to England this time. I paid attention. I don't know, what else did I do? When the question of a ship being blown up, so I did that on my own. It also, I mean, I told Bergson about what I was doing, but there was no decision by the that if we'd succeeded, it would have been good. I was a kind of maid of all Mädchen für alles, as they call it in German. Maid for all things.
Kolbeinig.
Huh?
Kolbeinig.
Kolbeinig. Yeah, also true. Oh.
So after the war, after that, you were in the Knesset.
Well, after the Altalena story, you know, there was a disagreement between me and Bergson. There was a decision that the Altalena must be brought, Altalena with the arms, or rather, that as soon as the arms were ready, the French took a long time about it. They were very slow. After Ariel had got their decision to give us the arms, it took several weeks before the arms were delivered. Everything was late. And there was a decision. Well, what else did we have the arms for? The arms should be brought here. By that time, the United Nations had decided on a ceasefire. Now, we had a discussion in France about it, in Paris, with the captain of the ship, a man with a lot of naval experience from the American Navy. I don't know his name now, forgotten it. It's all written down. And the question was raised, won't there be some military interference? It can't be from the United Nations. They didn't have any military interference, Egyptian or British. Mm-hmm. And he said not to worry. He knows how to take avoiding action, if there is any such. We needed the arms very badly. It was already, we need arms all the time very badly. And so we decided who was there. Ben Eliezer was there. I think that Livni was there. I think that Yoel was there. And the captain of the ship was there. And they all agreed with me, and I was also there. I was in charge at that time, because I had been asked to take charge. What we've left out is my coming here before the Altalena. Before the Altalena was sent, I had come back here on the day after the state was declared, and had brought the report that we were still waiting for the arms.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, we had a meeting with representatives of the Jewish agency of the Haganah. You know, Eshkol was there, and Galili was there, and a guy named Coed from the Haganah. Mm-hmm. We told them about the Altalena.
Mm-hmm.
We told them we had the ship, and we made them an offer.
Mm-hmm.
If they would give us $250,000. One, they could put on the Altalena arms of their own when we got it, we were certain we were going to get the arms. The French had already promised it to us. So we were able to make a deal with them that they could send arms and personnel on the ship as many as they liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the ship had come to Israel, they could take the ship to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we said then there was some chance for getting 2 planes from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come off in the end, but there was some hope of getting it. We had a man in Canada trying to get hold of 2 planes. He had a promise from somewhere or other. And so the story about the Altalena being a nonsense, they knew all about it. The midnight meeting we had on Saturday night, I had arrived with the other people at early afternoon, and having told Begin what the situation was, he immediately got in touch with them, and we had this talk late that night. So I had come on the Saturday on the plane, and I went back to Europe on the Tuesday, the same plane. Now, the fact is that at that time there were no plane services to Israel, and there were only chartered planes, individual chartered planes for wherever you could get them. But we had chartered a plane from an English company, and England had I don't know how exactly to put it, but they had made it. The British pilots were ordered not to come to this part of the world. Nobody was supposed to come to this part of the world, and the pilots had been persuaded that they should bring us in their plane, and. On the way here, they decided that they wouldn't bring us. They would bring us only as far as Cyprus. This wasn't good enough for us. Fortunately, we had a guy, an ex serviceman from the French Air Force, who also had the revolver, and. We said that they'd better bring us here, otherwise we would see to it that our pilot would fly the plane for us. What would happen to them, I don't know. But there were enough of us. There were about a dozen people, Irgun and others, on this plane. Meridor was there. Unisman was there, I remember. And so we came, but we promised them that they needn't stay here. They could drop us off on the Saturday, and they should come back on the Tuesday morning. Take whoever was going to go back to Europe. The idea was not that I would go back to Europe. The idea was that Meridor would go back to Europe. But Meridor refused because he'd been away from home for years already in the African continent. So the choice fell on me again. You want to know what job I had? I had this job. And so I took charge in Paris, and there was a complete agreement in Paris about the ship being sent, in spite of the United Nations. Begin afterwards claimed that I ought to have asked him, but I took it that we had orders already for sending the ship. However, we didn't quarrel about it, and he was right to say what he said, because he also needed some coherent story. And of course he had stopped the boat. He had got orders to the boat. They were in radio contact, and he got orders to the boat to stop. While I rushed around looking for a haven for the boat. I went to the Yugoslav embassy and asked for asked for contact with the Deputy Foreign Minister, with whom I had had some conversations during the UNSCOP meeting, which I haven't told you about at all. There was also a job